Good afternoon. Really a wonderful afternoon. The budget day, 1st of February, Tuesday. And who really wants to be inside a studio, so to say, when you can be sitting out in the sun and trying to address the budget which the Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, has just presented? The first reaction, there are two ways of putting it. One is it is a lackluster budget. The other way, to put it more optimistically, well, this is a budget which does not throw up any nasty surprises. So that's what you have. The stock markets were in positive territory on heels of good figures presented in the economic survey, which was tabled yesterday. And of course, in anticipation of something positive for the industry and the corporate sector, they were in the green territory. Having said that, let's come to the point. Point number one, there is effectively no change in the income tax rates, the personal income tax rates, or the rates pertaining to the corporate income tax. So, effectively, no big bang alteration there. Of course, there are a few small prints for merging of the cesses on income tax, but those are going to be applicable only for consortium of companies, so on and so forth. So as the common man goes, the personal income taxation remains pretty much the same. Some little tinkering for parents who are bringing about a child with disability or differently able child, but that's about it. So the income tax basic rates effectively remain the same. Now, what is really buzzing and what is really the youngsters are talking about is what is called the crypto tax, which they've introduced on cryptocurrencies like the Bitcoin, or whether you are into Ethereums or non fungible tokens. Now you can do the trading, but you will effectively be paying a 30% of the profits as income tax. And mind you, whatever expenses you incur, whether in shape of brokerages, etc., you cannot really deduct that. Unlike in stock markets, where you're a stock market trader, the brokerages that you pay, the security transaction tax, etc., those expenses get deducted. But effectively, crypto tax of 30% means that to be legally running a cryptocurrency business in India is not viable. So the people may prefer the gray route or the overseas route, but effectively, there is going to be a crypto tax of 30%. This, of course, also clears the haze. And that haze is that, the cryptocurrencies in India were going to be banned, just like liquor prohibition, so on and so forth. But that is not the case as yet. So, cryptocurrency tax of 30%. Now, another thing which I really would have to delve in greater detail, and the budget speech didn't make it clear, and it is not going to be available immediately, is the digital rupee which the RBI is going to bring about in the next year or two. So it means a digital rupee. So therefore, the basic concept of cryptocurrencies is that they are independent of any governmental control and the central banks, and more like peer-to-peer transactions, and the rules of the game are set into and encoded in the program. No one can change it. But when you have a digital rupee by the RBI, you may be resorting to the blockchain technology, etc. That's basically the same thing. But this is a governmental controlled rupee. So therefore, what I visualize is the RBI is going to be issuing digital rupees. So you cut on the costs of printing of notes, distribution, security of those notes. Of course, in setting up the whole infrastructure, it is very important that you have to invest. The RBI would have to invest. It is not something which is going to come free of cost. And other thing which is to be taken away is that it's going to be really independent of the banking system per se. So the RBI is going to issue a rupee, so it could get into your digital wallet, and you could be sending it off to the next person. That's there. But as a digital rupee, just like a currency note will not gather any interest for you, your digital rupee would be in your wallet. Whether you want to then convert it into a rupee in the bank or not, is there going to be some arbitrage between the two? That only time will tell. But my own sense is that should a digital rupee come, there would be two very close quotations as to what that rupee's value is. Just like having a gold sovereign coin in physical form or in form of a sovereign bond, there is some difference one way or the other. So that is something regarding what we were talking in terms of the digital rupee. Now, two things about income tax which have come up is that in search and survey operations, sometimes huge and humongous amounts of cash were recovered, or assets and property details which had not been declared. And it was a common practice for the assessees or the people who were searched and raided to say, well, this is the income of such and such company which has already built up huge losses. So even though the income was declared, it was taxed at a huge rate, but because you had accumulated and carry forward losses, so the government really wouldn't get any cash by way of tax. So now they've said that should there be any unaccounted wealth or income discovered during the course of survey and search operations, that will not be allowed to be set off vis-a-vis the accumulated losses of any entity whatsoever. So that's really tightening the system insofar as black money is concerned. And to cut down litigation, what the finance minister also said that from the end of the assessment year in which you filed the return, so the financial year, assessment year, these are technical terms, but let us say we have the financial year of 20 to 21, which ended on 31st March last year. Assessment year thereof is the year which is currently in operation, ends on 31st March. Now a window of 2 years has been given by the finance minister for you to revise your return. So what it eventually and essentially means is that if for any reason whatsoever, if you have advertently or inadvertently missed out reporting some income, then you have a window of opportunity of 2 years to file a revised return so as to save yourself from either prosecution and penalty. I'm sure the details are going to be in the finance bill. For the delayed payment of income tax, the government surely is going to charge you interest, but I do not think uh, they would be then contemplating any concealment penalty, so to say, because you are actively and proactively declaring. So, what I foresee is that in case your case has been picked up for scrutiny and you find that you are on a kind of slippery ground, then you might like to say that, well, here am I, you know, filing my revised return. The department accepts, takes the income tax due, additionally, or the interest, and the matter ends there. Otherwise, it was unending litigation. The department decides, then there is litigation, appeals, so on and so forth. So we are really free of that. Other thing which the finance minister has talked about is taxing the various incentives which are sometimes passed on. For instance, generally in automotive sector, if you sell so many units of scooters, two wheelers, you get something free. Similarly, if you sell so many cases of foreign liquor and Scotch whiskey, the distributors are getting additional incentives which they then pass on. So this, the finance minister has said that this is going to be regarded for all intents and purposes as income. So whether in monetary or non-monetary form, they would be eventually converted into monetary form and taxed, and there could be even a tax deduction at source. And more importantly, coming back to the cryptos, there is going to be a TDS of 1%. So just like when you sell property, there is some tax deduction at source. Person buying and selling, 1% immediately goes off into the government account. And if you want it, saying that you didn't really make any income, then you got to file a return. So it also establishes a cash trail. So one little point which may be of interest to the state government employees is that the central government was allowing a deduction up to 14% for the new pension scheme, where the government is contributing or its portion over and above the salary, and that 14% deduction was permissible. The same was limited to 10% in case of state government employees. So what now is they said that, well, should the state government want to do, let us create a platform where we kind of allow you similar deduction at the same rate. So this is then, friends, what this budget is all about. The last time I saw Nifty, it had cracked a bit, and I'm sure it is in the process of recovering. But those of you who are interested in technical levels, the level of 1744 on the Nifty is a crucial resistance level or a support level, depending on where the Nifty closes. So 3:30, when the markets close down, we have to see very carefully where the Nifty is headed. Now, on a political plane, people will ask, well, where are the jobs? And the answer would be the jobs are going to come through massive infrastructure spending. It's not only public investment, which will also attract additionally the multiplier effect of private investment following and so on. And those investments are going to definitely create jobs. That is one. The question of inflation needs to be addressed. The government borrowing is going to be huge. The interest rates are not going to be benign anytime soon. So, with high inflation, high interest rates, it is not really the most ideal environment to protect your savings. I think the jury is still out what would be the best type of investments which a person with some savings to be made, where does he go in this type of a scenario where the interest rates are going to harden? So if you're already holding a bond, its value effectively should go down if the interest rates go up. And whether the investment which we say is going to come in is going to create those jobs, that only time will tell. So if I were to rate this budget on a scale of 0 to 5, 3 is what I would give. And of course, the stock markets would be absorbing it. It didn't create any fireworks, so to say. At the same time, no nasty surprises, more like a business as usual type of a scenario. Government is optimistic about the growth rate. The fiscal deficit, they say we are on path to consolidate, and therefore borrowing would in the next 2 or 3 years be under control as a percentage of the GDP, as the GDP also grows up. So I think all in all, no nasty surprises. It's a good budget, but I wouldn't say it is an excellent budget. There were constraints. I don't think the finance minister could overlook those constraints. And what we need to do is to stay in the short term, see where the Nifty and the stock markets close at the end of the trading day today, and also what is going to be the scenario, let's say 1 month down the line. So thank you very much. It was again an impromptu talk, just addressing and picking up from the finance minister's speech. And should there be any questions, please do leave wherever you're joining from on the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, live. And if you think that whatever gist I have given could be of value to some person who's interested, please do not hesitate to share on those platforms or WhatsApp groups. And once again, have a great day ahead and wish you a happy February as well. Take care.